Yeah, it's quite interesting. Is it a revolution or is it an evolution? Um, you could simply regard intelligent energy as just the next step, evolutionary step in oil field technology. We've seen it in downstream actually. We've seen it a lot. Refineries became more intelligent ages ago. In the 40, 50 years ago, a refinery was some cooking pots with people managing and controlling it by hand. And obviously, refinery technology become more and more sophisticated and is fully controlled and automated. There's loads of sensors and control systems. Now, obviously, a refinery is something built at surface, so that's easy to do. The upstream industry works 10,000 feet underground, and to automate and control that is a hell of a lot more complicated. But it is just simply the next step in oil field production is to automate it. The trick is that we simply didn't have the technology to do that. There are no control systems that work at high temperatures, for instance. Somebody this morning made a presentation to the students, and he said, well, would you put your Apple workbook in your mother's oven and put it at a maximum temperature and then leave it there for a couple of hours? What do you think that will happen with your little laptop computer? Well, it will melt, it will disappear. Obviously, the same technology, the same electronics and stuff as that's built in laptop computers, we use in the oil industry. And it's going to go deep down in the underground where it will experience temperatures like that and pressures like that. So from a technology standpoint, it is a revolution. But from a process side, I think it is sort of the next step in what we do. That said, we saw it coming in SPE about 10 years ago when the first people called smart wells. Smart wells was just a thing that came up. Smart wells is basically, the whole idea about that was to put refinery technology in the underground, control systems. So we could see that coming. And so we organized a forum. Forums are the SPE events that are by invitation only and look far out into the future. So we did a Smart Wells forum, and the task of that forum was basically to map out a future for what we now call intelligent wells, and they were very successful. And one of the things that came out of the forum was that we have to do a series of conferences once there is enough to present about. So we are now at the third conference. The first one was 6 years ago, and it has been growing. Not very large. I mean, it's not a big conference. There is about 1,500 people here, I think. And the exhibition is not one of the biggest exhibitions, but it is very high quality. And the people who come to this conference is very interesting. They are all specialists in the field, which is completely different from the big conferences we do, like offshore Europe, where you have 40,000 people coming and a handful of specialists, but mainly people who just want to look at a big show, right? A big exhibition. Here it's all people, every single person who comes to this conference and exhibition knows exactly what it's about and will come and talk to the people at the exhibition and listen to the latest technology at the conference. So that's sort of the difference in conferences and exhibitions we have with the rest. Yeah, it is. The big value is integration. You integrate a lot of things. You integrate data, technology, people, and by combining a lot of things, you make it much more efficient, I would say. A good example would be actually from the exploration area, from seismic. In 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, if you want to do seismic in, let's say, in a desert in the Middle East, you would put microphones in the ground. That's what seismic people do. And these microphones were about that big, right? They're quite large contraptions. And you would have 200 people carrying these microphones. Actually 300 tons, that's the total weight of those microphones. Place them in the desert, and then they do their seismic, and then I have to remove them again. Now the next job is that a microphone fits in the palm of your hand. It's about that big. So that makes, and they're all wireless. You don't need to hook them up anymore. They find each other and they talk to each other, and it's completely different technology. And the trick now is you still have those 200 people, but instead of doing seismic in, let's say, 2 square miles area, you can now do 200 square miles area with the same number of people, but now using the fully integrated technology to do your seismic. That is sort of an example of making that part of the industry more, call it more intelligent.